Welcome to We Live It. I think she got a little confused on her countdown, but that's what we love about
we
this.
About 5, 2, 4, 3, 2, 1.
She's kind of like the typical auctioneer we got around here. 5, 3, 7, 5, 2.
Yep.
What? I mean, I don't know.
We were getting run up on the countdown.
Welcome to LiveAg podcasts. We live it. We just want to welcome everybody. Our host is deCordova and Casey Mabry, and we just thank you all for joining us live on social media. And we just want to get into kind of talking about some things, some markets. We have a couple of guests, or one guest coming on today to talk about some buyer stuff. Jeff Peck with Sandhollow Trading will join us here in a little while. He is out of Boise, Idaho, and buys quite a few cattle off of us and trades quite a few cattle. And we just kind of want to get a buyer's perspective on some of this as we go forward. As we've talked about before, Casey, we're going to try to be pretty informative on here. But first of all, I just kind of want to visit kind of where we've been, what we've been doing the last couple of weeks. Stock show season. Your kiddos are showing hogs. Mine are showing steers. We was in Fort Worth all week last week. Brutal temperatures, but we held them together, and the girls did really well. So how about you? How'd you get along?
Yeah, so, I mean, you guys it was probably pretty hot down there when you were down there, and then all of a sudden it turned cold, and it looks like it's going to be pretty chilly here. We're sitting on the patio here at Cooper Barbecue in Fort Worth, and it's a little chilly out here this morning, but no, stock show season's in full swing, obviously, and for you guys that do that stuff, you realize how busy it is, particularly this time of year, professionally, and trying to balance all that stuff out and trying to deal with the market volatility that we've had there as well. But it's been a good run here.
Yeah, it's been pretty fun. Like you said, this weather's been crazy in Texas. It was 90 last week. It's 23 out here today. As Casey mentioned, we are at Cooper's Barbecue. We're in the Llano room. We'll have our sale live today at 1:30 Central Time out of the Llano room. We want to thank Barry and family for allowing us to have the opportunity to have our sale here. This is a pretty good venue. I can't go without talking about the bull right by you. My partner, Jason Barber, every time anybody ever comes to Fort Worth, he's got to talk about his bull that's in Cooper's Barbecue. So the Hereford bull that beside us has the Barber brand on it, and it's Barber Hereford, as they say. So I didn't want to go without mentioning that for my
No, this thing's pretty cool, and it's pretty intimidating, And I kind of made a joke to Jason because I didn't know that thing was his, but I said, "Is that a Barber Hereford?" And obviously the brand's on the hip of it that I didn't notice until I swung around the other side of it. But this thing's awesome, and you guys ought to come in here and take a picture with it for sure.
Yeah, take a pic. Hey, we do have some cattle on here today, though. We have Sneed Pools Hereford steers on here today that are Barber sired. If you into feeding Herefords, and they're a heck of a set of Hereford steers that are on today. If you want to check them out today and bid on live-ag.com, that would be awesome. So as we move forward today, we just want to thank everybody once again. Thank everybody for joining us. Thank everybody that's come out to the sale today. Casey, you want to talk a little bit about the markets, kind of what we've seen here the last couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, so if you step back and you reflect on where we were the last time you guys had a sale when we were up in Denver, I mean, that was probably the height of euphoria, and that was kind of the peak in the market there from a short-term standpoint. We've kind of softened up a little bit to some degree, and we've seen a little bit of pressure both in the futures market and the cash market, both in feeders and fats. But again, the cash market still stays very robust. It still hasn't softened as much as the futures have. We've seen, I mean, the biggest story that we've seen recently has been all this volatility. It seems like any kind of little blip in a news article, you're talking about some of these bird flu things or whatever that pops up, kind of rocks the market a little bit. Small percentage changes equals big dollars changes. And so if you see a $2 move in live cattle in one day, some people want to know what's going on, but that's like a 50-cent move, what used to be. So I'll tell you, the market still stays good. We've kind of softened up to some degree, but again, it's not like it's a big, huge correction. So we've talked about it at length, about the fund length. That's a concern. But as far as fundamental aspects of it, supply stays tight. Demand is relatively good. We've seen a little bit of softening here over the last couple of weeks, but again, it's February. We're sitting here a day before Valentine's Day, so make sure you go get your card and go get your chocolates and roses and what have you.
Oh, Lord.
You got to make sure you get that done.
Yeah, we better go.
For sure. But, typically the market, kind of finds a little bit of buying pressure right in here as you go forward. So, markets here right now as we're looking at it, I'll kind of pull my phone up and see where we're at. We're about $1.50 higher in the April live cattle contract. We're about, $2.50 to $3 higher across the feeder board. So maybe a little bit of bounce back after we've seen some softening the last couple of days.
Yeah. And a good day to happen. And we got a lot of good wheat cattle on today from the Texas Panhandle. Bill Martin there at Lone Star Stockyards got a pretty good sampling of wheat cattle from there around Amarillo. CJ Page, the rep's got a lot of cattle around Monday and around Benjamin and around that area. So we're gonna kind of test this April-May market, I guess today I should say, for this wheat cattle run. But a lot of good cattle, a lot of good genetics here today. And I guess that's going to lead right into to our next guest, and that's Jeff Peck with Sandhollow Trading out of Boise, Idaho. Jeff has been, I guess we've been friends for, I don't know, a long time. Long time friend of mine, and he that's one thing about this business and this industry. When you start doing business with certain people, you get a relationship with them. And I think the first month or so, I think I probably got more chewings from Jeff than I did anything. But
he had to line you out, huh?
and then he kind of got me lined out, and now we're real good friends. We talk on a weekly basis, if not every other day, and just kind of most times not about business. We're just BSing, He calls, check in. I call, check in on them, and that's one thing about this industry that I love so much is the relationship of it. So Jeff, you kind of want to tell your little backstory on where you've been and where you're from and what you do?
You might lean right into that deal right there.
Yeah, bring that mic to you.
West of Boise, a little town of New Plymouth, Idaho. Kind of grew up.
Pull that mic to you, Jeff. There you go.
Talk right into it.
There. Kind of went to the Midwest and when I was early 20s and started doing business with some of the feed yards there and just kind of progressed ever since then.
Yeah.
Hung out with you guys, and it is true, if it's not a family type of a deal, we probably wouldn't do it.
Right.
We traveled together and
you have a big background with Ellington Peak. Kind of tell that story. That's a neat story, that Western out there in Ellington and what he built out there and the friendship and the lifelong friendship that you two guys have had. That's kind of what we want to focus on in some of this stuff.
I probably met Ellington the first time when I was a teenager. Went to his sale barn to buy some calves and horses and stuff, and he was one of the big guys back then, but he really zeroed in on the little guy. He was all about getting with you and talking to you and understanding you and offering you an opportunity to take the next step up in the industry. And became friends with him and still am friends. He's coming on 97 years old this year, and he'll call you once a week, twice a week, talk to you about the weather, whatever it may be, but he's given a lot of young guys a lot of opportunities. And done it for the purpose of growing the industry.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff there. That a guy like that, you just want to meet and sit down and pick his brain for hours. And you can learn so much for them guys. So going forward here, kind of what do you look in when you're buying these cattle, when you come to these sales and sit out here? Kind of what's your first go-to when you look at these catalogs and these cattle? What do you look at first to decide what you want to do?
The rep.
Yep.
The representative. Who is it? You buy your rep. You put your faith in your rep. I can't make it to all the ship-ins. In fact, I can only make it to very few. So I have to lean on them to take care of my side of it, to take care of me.
Yeah. So the rep, and then would you say slide would probably be your next biggest thing?
Yeah, slide, the shrink, yes, and the genetics of the cattle. But the slide's very important because in our contracts, when we're buying these cattle that are 30, 60 days out, we've got to rely upon the slide to keep our contract right for our buyers. Keep when they're plugging in a $30 margin, 6 months out, 9 months out, it's important on that slide that slide keeps that $30 as close as we can get it to it. And it's really the only tool there to make that happen.
So are you buying pretty much everything that's going to go straight into a feed yard, or are you buying some lighter weight cattle that are going to go out and kind of get kicked out on grass or stalks?
I do have a grass cattle order in the summertime we put together for Jason Timmerman. We'll buy 10,000, 12,000 head that will go to grass, but primarily feedlot.
Yeah. So, and most of those guys, I mean, they're working off razor thin margins, right? And so whenever they're buying cattle, a lot of times they're buying a loser, and so they want to make sure they're protecting yourself. And so what you're saying is you're relying on the relationship with those reps, or the kind of the history behind those guys, and then also, I mean, more of it is probably predictability, and is that probably where you're thinking?
Yes, definitely. And your reps, once you build a relationship with them, you know the cattle, and you know the rep that he's pretty accurate with what he's doing. Everybody's subject to small errors here and there, but he's pretty accurate. And we've got some other reps out in our industry that we stay away from for the same reason.
Yeah.
Tell you a funny story real quick. The first time I had interaction with Jeff Peck was, I think I was in Winnemucca, Nevada, and I was sitting up on the block, and they've told me he's a cage fighter, so I'm like, great, good deal. And I was, I don't know, 20.
I never heard that.
20-something years old, and there was a little rut row, and then they come grab me. They said, you need to go tell Jeff that he got that last lot of cattle. I'm like, oh, no, we're going to pick somebody else. So I'm like, whatever. So I get down off the block and walk to him, and I look down at him thinking, my God, he still is, but back then he was even bigger.
Yeah, he looks pretty mean right here.
And he looked real mean back then when I was a kid, And I looked down at him and said, I just want to let you know that you did buy this lot, so you need to make sure you mark them down. And he looks up at me and he said, of course, they would have sent the biggest guy that works for him over here to tell me that. And I'm thinking to myself, look, dude, all you had to do is stand up and I'd take them back from you.
It's all about perspective.
It's all about perception.
Yeah.
But I took him.
Yeah, he took them. He's always been good.
So are you a cage fighter?
Did it back long time ago. Before it was cage fighting.
So did you ever get yourself in a situation that was tougher then or in this cattle market?
Oh, cattle market. I could heal from a whipping.
So you're saying that I've dealt in this cattle market, I'm probably tougher than a cage fighter?
Might be.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. Just want to remind you guys, we appreciate Jeff being on here. We always want to get the buyer's perspective of things. We know once the hammer's dropped on these cattle, we go from working for the seller to working for the buyer. It's just how the rep's got to toe a fine line right there, and we want to encourage all of those reps to seek advice from some of these buyers on what and what not to do. And that helps them grow and helps them grow the relationship and help them keep that buyer base. That's how they grow their buyer base. So we want to thank y'all for that. Thank you for coming on, Jeff, and kind of going through some of this with us. We want to remind everybody out there that we do have a sale next week at the Alabama Cattlemen's Convention. It starts at 2 o'clock Central Time. It's in Birmingham, Alabama. I got that messed up last time, I think, but I fixed it this time. So Birmingham, Alabama, it's a convention center. Go visit live-ag.com. We should have that catalog listed Monday or Tuesday of next week. The Elite Marketing Group out there, they're doing an outstanding job for us. They've come on in a big way in the Southeast and put some new guys on this last week out there. Also want to point your attention to that last week we brought on board Ben Hale and his crew out of Oklahoma with Western Commission firm. They own a couple of sale barns, Comanche and Woodward, and then Knoxville Regional in Knoxville, Iowa. They come on board last week. We want to welcome them to the team and thank them so much for joining us. Also want to thank Casey for helping us on this deal. I don't know what I'd do if I was sitting up here by myself. It wouldn't be near as fun. So
I'll probably make you look pretty good.
Yeah, you do. You kind of prop me up there and make me look a little better. And don't forget the Hereford Bull. Now come to Cooper's today and sit on the Barber Hereford and take your picture and join us at 1:30 Central Time on RFD TV for a live ag sale. And don't forget, we live it.